It's time for Beginner's Helicopter Part 3, and now we're really going to start mastering turning your helicopter. We're going to be looking at momentum, we're going to be looking at how to use the throttle to improve your turns, we're going to be looking at how to turn corners while not losing any speed, we're going to be looking at how to really get your helicopter manoeuvring through difficult places. Is it going to be tricky? Sure, but I'm going to be here to guide you every step of the way. So let's get learning. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to part 3 of the Adipose's helicopter tutorials. In part 1 we had a good look at controlling the pitch and roll of your helicopter. In part 2 we talked about all the different controls setups that you could try, mouse and keyboard, joystick, etc. And now we're going to start getting into some of the basic manoeuvres you're going to be wanting to master on the helicopter. And to do that we're going to need to start looking at the yaw. Now we didn't touch this in lesson 1, but you may have had a little play with by yourself. But essentially your yaw is the bit of you that turns the helicopter left and right, and if I go to the external view you can see that it's just simply shifting the helicopter left to the left and to the right. But the reason I didn't touch this in lesson 1 is because when you turn, you'll notice that it does make my helicopter lean slightly, and we need to be able to compensate for that roll with either the mouse or the right stick or whatever it is that you are using. And the faster I am moving, the more pronounced that roll from the turn is. So there I wasn't moving very fast at all. In fact, if I get my speed right back down again, you'll see that I can turn right and I can turn left using the yaw, and there's very little roll that takes place. And you can see this with the lines on the screen. That's the horizon, the left to right screens there, and if they go at a turn at an angle, that means my helicopter has turned at an angle. But if I now really shoot myself forward fast, remember you pitch yourself forward, that's how you pick up speed to, I'm going about 170 odd here, and then stick on the yaw. Whoa, look at that, see, a far steeper angle coming out of the helicopter. So you've got to have really got used to compensating for that roll that the yaw is going to give you. So if I turn to the left there, I'm going to lean to the right, and then I need to pull it back towards the left. And the same again if I quickly yaw to the, if I bring myself up a little bit, if I yaw to the right, I then need to yaw to the right as well to compensate the lean that comes up to the left. Now, the part of helicopter flying which then will give you the greatest control is using all of these controls together in conjunction. So the pitching, which is your up and down, your yawing, which is your turning left and your turning right, and your rolling, which is your rolling left and your rolling right. Now we can use all of these together to put together some quite useful manoeuvres. Let's just do a basic turn to make sure we've understood that and see the advantages and disadvantages of it. So I'm going to get up a good speed, looking on the the left hand side there. You can see my speed is about 140, and I'm just going to yaw to the left. I'm going to compensate for any kind of roll, and look, my speed has dropped right off. Now there are times where that could be really, really useful. If there was a target right here, I've now come to a nice stop nearby it, and I've got I'm going to have a nice kind of accurate shot at it. Now it's always best not to stay still when flying, but there may be times where you really need to kind of get the accuracy. So I'm going quite fast here, I'm going to yaw to the right, compensate for the roll, and bang, 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 going at a slow speed, I can be pretty accurate. But what about if I didn't want to lose speed when I'm trying to turn 180 degrees? I'm going to use this road here as my example. I'm going to go down it, and we need to gain a bit of height, because what we're going to do is we're going to turn left, and then we're also going to roll left as well, and then and we're also going to pitch downwards at the same time, and we'll get a quick turn. So have a look at this. Here we go. Rolling left, turning left, pitching down, zooming out of it, and I'm still travelling at about 150, 160 Gs. So I've managed to turn 180 degrees and keep my speed up. Now, if I'm in the middle of air-to-air combat, that can be really useful indeed. But of course, as you do it, you lose height, so you've got to start up a little bit to begin with. Let's do it again, this time to this side. Roll right, turn right, zoom round. Still travelling at 150, and I'm now going the other direction. Let's do it back again the other way. Turn left, roll left, push down, compensate. Coming near to the ground, still travelling 150, 130, 140. But I've kept my speed, which makes me a far harder target for a tank and a far harder target for another helicopter or plane, and so on. So there's one of the basic manoeuvres that you can try. Just you putting those three things together: the yaw and the roll and the pitch. The other thing we need to bring into consideration is also the throttle, because throughout almost this whole video so far, I've had the throttle held down on maximum. I know it looks on the right like I'm kind of like as I'm going up and down, it's raising and falling like I'm doing there, but actually that's just because I'm going up and down in height. I haven't taken my finger off the throttle during the whole thing. But if I do take my finger off the throttle, or even in fact deliberately decrease the throttle, that will then allow me to perform a lot of manoeuvres a lot quicker and cleaner than I actually could before. Let me show you. If I go around this this tree here and I'm holding the throttle down, it's going to be a wide corner. Okay, same here. I'm going to go around it. I'm using the roll and I'm using the turn, and it's a wide corner, and that's great if that's what I want to be powering away. But if I take off the throttle and then put it back on, I can actually get a far tighter corner. Let's use this tree over here as an example. So I'm coming in. I'm going to turn round it to the right, but just as I get close, I'm going to take off the throttle, slam it back on. And look, I've got a far tighter corner there. Let's try it again here. Throttle off, roll towards it, and a far tighter corner. Now I lose speed, that's the downside of doing that, but I gain manoeuvrability. So if I was going to travel down a trickier route, start going between some of these trees, maybe over the river, maybe between some of these pylons, then the ability to slow myself down and do a far tighter corner like this is going to be really valuable, especially if there's someone on my tail. I'm going to want to be able to take the throttle down, put the throttle on, and do nice tight corners, because if I can come out of this facing him, or when he's not expecting it, then I've got the advantage. Now, I just want to show you that, and this is an important thing, because this is one of the other things that leads to crashes. The first thing I talked about in part one was the idea that, if you're not in control of your roll and your pitch, you might over pitch or over roll and lose control of the helicopter that way. And that's completely true, and probably the biggest killer of newbie pilots. But the other thing that tends to kill newbie pilots is not compensating for the momentum of your helicopter. And I'll just show you what I mean by that. I mean, it's fairly self-explanatory, but I'm just going to make my helicopter move kind of to the left here. So I'm moving to the left, and then I'm going to put my helicopter straight. But of course, I'm actually still moving left because of the angle that I was before, and it's the same with moving forward. So I'm going to move forward at a very high speed, level off my helicopter. But of course I'm still moving forward because of the momentum that I had there before. So when you actually want to change direction, and especially when you want to change direction quickly, you have to take into account that you aren't going to change direction straight away. You've got to get rid of all the speed you had going in the first direction before you can actually start to gain speed in the second direction. And also, to give you an example of that, so I'm going forward here, and if I suddenly want to put it in reverse, I then need to kind of slam it up. And I'm still moving forward at this point, and it's only now that I actually start going into reverse instead. So you need to take that into account. So if I'm really plummeting towards the ground fast, I cannot wait until the last second to pull up. I need to do it in advance when I've got time comfortably to change direction. Change direction as well. Alright, so look out for momentum. Think about which direction you are moving and think about how much time you're going to need to compensate for that momentum. I would very much use this idea in conjunction with the throttle idea I talked about before, because if you take down your throttle, whoops, as I touched the ground there, if you take down the throttle, you can try and lose the momentum of the original direction more quickly. So I'm heading this way, turn down the throttle, pull back the other way quickly, and I can lose the momentum just a little bit faster, but that might make the difference between crashing or not, which would be great. So before you get to part 4 of this tutorial series, where we're going to be looking at rockets and gunners, and we're going to really start using the offensive capabilities of the helicopter, you need to have a good grasp of how to control the helicopter's movement. So you need to know how to turn the helicopter left and right and compensate for any kind of roll that you get in the meantime. You need to be able to recover from momentum and pull yourself in opposite directions. If you find yourself moving towards an object like these trees I'm going to here, you need to be able to pull yourself away from those objects and then recover and get to a nice straight position. You need to be able to gain height pretty quickly. You then also need to be able to lose height quickly. You need to be able to pull the throttle off for tight corners and slam it back on. You know, these kind of manoeuvres which I've been talking about during the video, you need to have not a perfect grasp on them by any means, but a good grasp of them, and I've tried them multiple times. One challenge I've got for you before you move to part 4, get on an empty server, find Caspian border, and find the river, and see if you can make it down from one end of the map to the other, following the river. And if you start high in the air, start about 150, just follow it along, and then come down lower and see if you can get down to about this height here, kind of around the 20 mark, maybe a little bit higher, a little bit lower. I mean, you can move around it the course quite slowly, but just make your way along the river, taking the throttle off where need be, avoiding the trees, using the roll and the yaw to get yourself through the more difficult places. But it makes a really, really nice obstacle course. Yes, you're going to crash, yes, you're going to blow up the helicopter multiple times, but it's a really nice place for you to practice. And don't forget, of course, that you can do this course in 2 different directions, and it'll feel different each time because the position of the trees and the rocks and things like that. So get yourself down that river, and when you're comfortable-ish doing that, come and see us in part 4, and we will start talking about targeting and rockets and different kinds of weaponry, and we'll get you ready for that battlefield. Take care, thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe and like the video if you would like to see more. Don't forget, I've got lots of other video tutorials on the channel, so do check them out. I'm looking at accuracy and shooting and destroying tanks and lots of other bits and bobs. So take care, and I will see you soon. Goodbye.